Gustavo Fring has some of the strongest characterization in the entire Breaking Bad universe. It's so strong, in fact, that you can tell he's losing his mind just by a little finger twitch. This guy is so precise and careful. How do you introduce him to that universe? You kind of don't.
We'll both just sit here with our Happy Meals looking like a couple chumps.
Gentlemen, is everything to your satisfaction?
Fine, thanks.
The first time we see Gus, nobody knows who he is. He's just a manager at a fast food chain. And Giancarlo Esposito wasn't super well known before this show, so if you watched it when it came out, there's a good chance you didn't notice him either. I really like this decision because it calls out the viewer directly, right? It's not Walter didn't notice this guy, it's you didn't notice this guy. There's so many times in this show, and really in any show, where you can point to the screen and say, hey, they should have noticed this, they should have done this differently. It's easy to kind of do that as the observer, but in this case, you didn't notice it either. But maybe you did notice it the first time you watched the show, or like me, you had it ruined before you even watched. Because everyone loved Gus, or as I like to call him, the chicken brother.
People call them Los Pollos Hermanos, the Chicken Brothers. The Chicken Brothers.
There's a good chance you already knew this guy and saw some scenes with him before you actually decided to watch the show. So what about when he actually does talk? After the dynamic duo gets stood up because Jesse is high, Walter decides to go back to the meeting spot on his own to try to figure out who his connection is and force that meeting to happen. And somehow he figures out that it's Gus. Right off the bat, you're an undercover kingpin and you're having this meeting at your own restaurant that's the front for your drug operation. That's cool. There's this moment where he's kind of holding on to this customer service facade and then decides, just right away to drop it. And it's beautiful. The nonverbal acting from Brian and Giancarlo is incredible in this scene. One thing that I'm not a huge fan of with this introduction is that Gus decides to drop the facade and introduce his real personality right after Walter says that they're alike. Like, he's super hesitant before that and then just flips, on a dime.
I was told that the man I would be meeting with is very careful, a cautious man. I believe we're alike in that way.
He does look around and make sure the coast is clear a little bit before that, but it still feels to me in this scene that he's doing this out of contempt. He's upset that Walter compared the two of them, and that gets him out of his shell, I guess. That doesn't feel calculated. And it's obvious that he's done his research, we'll get to that, but it just feels a little bit off going from refusing to meet someone because you don't like their judgment to just fully admitting you're a drug lord, face to face. I think it would have made a lot more sense if Gus changed his mind and then approached Walter anonymously through Saul to set up that connection and start building that trust before just outing himself. But just because something might be more logical, that doesn't really mean that it's better TV. If it went that way, it would have robbed Walter of the autonomy and the ego of, forcing this meeting with Gus. And it wouldn't allow Gus to give an absolute banger of a line.
Will I hear from you?
I have your numbers.
This shit is so good, man. Numbers. Plural. For someone who cares about their family at this point in the show, that's a complete gut hit. Later, it's kind of pieced together that he knows this because of Mike, who's kind of a double agent for Saul and Fring.
The problem is the boss wouldn't like it. Saul, my boss, your boss.
In the moment, it just shows how unlimited his power is. He knows everything about you. He holds all of the cards. And I like, too, that it's not a full confrontation necessarily, because things are tense between Gus and Walter, from the very get-go. Just kiss already. And the real full-on threats don't come until much, much later. So this kind of feels like an ego check. Walter came in with all this power, forced a meeting onto Gus. Gus is saying, hey, I know you. I know what you have to lose. Now you know what I can do to you. Tread carefully. Walter White is a super genius. He's hard to beat, and what he wants to do is hide in plain sight. He wants his family and his friends and his money, and all of the drug stuff is just on the side. He's just a cool guy or whatever that somehow has millions of dollars that he can't explain. So the choice to have Gustavo Fring do just that and do it so flawlessly is really smart because it draws a comparison to Walter and Gus, but it makes it so clear that he's just leagues above this guy right now. He knows this criminal world. He knows how to operate within it. He knows how to stay safe within it. Those are things that Walter really can't do yet and kind of, never can do. Having Walter and Gus be so similar kind of on paper, and then the first thing that Gus says is, hey, we're not similar at all, is great. It just puts him in such a strong spot as a character moving forward.